Do we want our kids? Do we really think this is as good as we can be as a nation? I don't think the vast majority of people think that. There are probably anywhere from 10 to 15% of the people out there that are just not very good people. But that's not who we are. The vast majority of the people are decent. We have to appeal to that, and we have to unite people, bring them together. Bring them together.
So that was Joe Biden on a live stream town hall last night with Don Cheadle and Ryan Wilson, basically saying 10 to 15% of Americans aren't very good people. And guys, I sort of agree with Biden here, rare as that is, but I have a lot of qualifiers to that agreement. A lot of people took this clip out of context to make it sound exactly like a sort of basket of deplorables claim that Hillary Clinton made, or the Mitt Romney claims that nearly half the countries were slackers or were basically leeching off the rest of the productive society. I don't think this is the same thing. I think he's being very clear in his wording that America needs to do a lot more to fight for equality for all people, regardless of your racial background, regardless of the color of your skin. And this live stream town hall was aimed at an overwhelmingly black audience. And I think that context does somewhat matter. And so I don't think it's unreasonable to say that if you look at the wide swath of American society, there probably are 10 to 15% of the population that wouldn't support a drive towards more equality between white and black Americans. And that's very sad, but it's also probably the truth. If you did polling on it, it would not surprise me to see 10%, maybe 5, 10, 15% of people have really regressive views on interracial relationships, on equality between blacks and whites, and on all sorts of issues that the mainstream of society would see as settled. That many Democrats, most Democrats, and even a lot of Republicans would agree upon, at least in broad terms. And so Biden isn't wrong to say that those 10 to 15% of people may not be very good, but there is the opportunity to unite people, the other 85, 90% of people, on a program of unity. The problem is, I don't think Joe Biden has demonstrated the willingness and or ability to do that. And that's where I depart from Biden. Biden's right in noting that Donald Trump will not unify the broad swath of Americans, that his core base and some of his softer voters don't necessarily have ideals that represent the majority of Americans, and their only hope for victory is, a broken electoral college. But fundamentally, Joe Biden's neoliberalism, Joe Biden's own failures to inaugurate racial equality through the Senate and through his time as vice president and now as a presidential candidate really tells me that maybe he's not doing nearly enough to be the unity candidate. Whether it's on economic or gender or racial grounds or on any other of the, divisions in American society based on identity and based on position, Biden hasn't done enough to fight for the marginalized people. Whether it's women, we know the Tara Reade story. Whether it's racialized people, we know the 1994 crime bill. Whether it's, working class people, we know that Joe Biden doesn't support giving Medicare for all to the majority of poor and low income people, precarious workers that need secure healthcare but do not have it. And even his broken public option will admittedly leave 10 million people minimum without insurance. That's not a program of unity. And so I really do feel that this is a moment. Biden's right. There is a moment right now to bring Americans together. We're seeing, in response to what we've been seeing during the George Floyd protests, how police have been acting. We've been seeing more and more people who never would have been the least bit critical of police before, now calling for departments to be disbanded or defunded, for police budgets to be cut severely and have that money rolled into social services and healthcare and education and childcare to ensure that communities are taken care of and that police who can't be trusted to take care of those communities lose their power and lose their unaccountability. Things are changing rapidly right now, but I don't know if Biden's the guy for it. And this is what concerns me, because I do think right now Biden is in a good position to win. I'm shocked just as much as many of my viewers are, but Trump has done such a bad job that Biden can win in spite of all of his own personal and political and ideological weaknesses. But where does that leave society in November, in January, with a President Biden who has talked about unifying the 85, 90, 95% of the country on a program of unity, but whose economic and political vision isn't going to be enough to bring economic and social and political and racial justice for all who need it? This is the man that said to police, maybe the solution is to aim for the leg. That's not enough for black communities. Fighting for working class people, Biden has not done nearly enough. That's the simple truth. And so, he is right in noting that there are always going to be people in any political project that are likely beyond your reach. And part of politics is knowing who's in your camp, who isn't in your camp no matter what, and how to get those people that are undecided into your camp. That's how you win elections, big and small and in between. But Biden himself has not demonstrated that when the chips are down, he actually has a program for the 85, 90, 95%. And we have to be honest that when Biden says 10, 15% of Americans aren't very good people, he's speaking specifically on issues of race. But we have to be clear that some of that 10 to 15% are neoliberal Biden supporters that basically want to make billions while working class people who are disproportionately women, black people, indigenous people, Latinos, suffer. They don't have healthcare. They don't have good wages. They don't have job security. They don't have good housing. While they make hundreds of millions and billions, they're not good people either. Just because they vote Democrat doesn't mean they're good people. So that 10 to 15%, maybe it's 15 to 20, includes the deep Trump MAGA hat wearers, but it also includes some of the neoliberal Democrats that have had the power to change things in the past and never did it. Heck, Biden might be part of that 10 to 15 to 20%. So he's right. But my goodness, is he not the man to bring that revelation to action in November, and if he's lucky, in January when he's president?